G'day, my name is Stax, and today we're talking about Mount & Blade Bannerlord. Mount & Blade Bannerlord is a prequel to one of my favourite games of all time, Mount & Blade Warband. What I hope to do with this video is to shed some light on what we've heard and seen about Bannerlord so far, and hopefully provide some meaningful and insightful thoughts and commentary along the way. However, before we get too deep into the topic, I feel like I need to preempt this video with a message of restraint. It seems we gamers are still children at heart, and can't control our excitement at upcoming games, as was demonstrated to us recently. I speak of course of the recent No Man's Sky debacle. So I beg of you, please, do not tarnish the reputation of one of my favorite developers by letting your imaginations run wild, fueled by nothing but empty claims and unsubstantiated rumors. It's better to have a skeptical outlook and be pleasantly surprised than it is to ride the hype train all the way to disappointment station. With that out of the way, we can now move on to the actual content of the video. I'll be segmenting the video into smaller topics, which I'll leave the links for in the description, in case you want to jump to or revisit any of them. The segments are as follows: World and Setting, HUD and World Map, Combat, Diplomacy, Economics, Modding and Engine. Quick side note: since the game is still under development, most of what I'm talking about in this video may be subject to change. As I mentioned at the top, Bannerlord is the prequel to Warbands, which means it's set in the same lands of Calradia only 200 years earlier. While it is the same lands, they've been expanded, meaning that the map is now about 3 times the size of the original. It seems the dev liked what they did with the faction stories in the Fire and Sword expansion, because they're bringing it back. However, this time, as far as I could understand, the game has more of an overarching story that isn't dependent on which faction you choose to work with. The factions in Bannerlord are as follows, and sorry if I butcher any of these names: Sturgia in blue, Batania in green, Northern Empire in pink, Western Empire in orange, Valandia in red, and Kusite in brown. I'm just gonna go ahead and get this out of my system now, because I feel like it's probably gonna come up again later. It's set 200 years before Warbands, yet, as you will see, they have more advanced technology, so somehow between this and Warbands, they have regressed technologically. I get that this is simply an inevitability when you set out to improve an existing title, but they chose themselves to set Bannerlords before Warbands, and so far I haven't seen nor heard any good arguments for why this is the case. Also, I feel really bad for the Northern Empire, pink. Really? That's the color you chose to go with? It's not really the color that evokes the most fear and respect from me, to be honest. The HUD has been completely reworked in Bannerlord to provide the player with more information. Information such as morale, food and gold. The developers are making sure though that the HUD doesn't become too overwhelming. The same goes for the world map. Aside from a definite graphics upgrade, the world map has also been updated to help the player quickly tell at a glance all they need to know about a village or city. For example, villages will now have production buildings shown on the world map next to them, to inform the player what type of products the village produces. While the world is still the same old Calradia we're used to, some of the terrain has been changed. Most notably, more mountains have been added. This makes the map play a bigger role in the gameplay and strategic decisions the player has to make, as more mountains means more choke points, which the player can either choose to abuse or avoid. It's not only the terrain that has changed though, but the weather as well. Bannerlord adds seasons and weather effects to the game, which will drastically affect the gameplay. Weather effects such as rain and snow will make archers and cavalry less effective. These weather effects will affect your decision making, as say for example your army specializes in mounted combat. You would likely try to wait out storms before engaging an enemy to ensure that you have the best combat conditions. To help make these new seasons more relevant, the yearly cycle has been lowered to 12 weeks. This will not only affect the seasons and weather, but also the speed at which characters age. I'm absolutely loving the new HUD. The fact that I won't have to click a button every now and then to check whether or not I'm good on food and money is a huge plus for me. I have many times been in situations where my party's morale has dropped needlessly because I didn't stop to check my food stores every few minutes. On the map side of things, I'm not quite as thrilled. While I do love the updates to the towns and villages, I'm not as optimistic about the topographical changes to the map. I liked how in Warband each faction seemed to get a bit of character from the terrain from which they hailed, and subsequently specialized in fighting in. The Swadians ruled the rolling hills and grasslands, the Brodoks lorded over the mountains, and the Khajiit tamed the mighty steppes. Now I haven't been able to find the entire map yet, so this concern can be taken with a grain of salt until we have an actual map available to us. The combat in Bannerlord is staying pretty much the same as in the previous titles in the Mount & Blade series. However, we are getting some additions to siege combat. We will now not only be able to choose how we want to take a city, be it either by scaling the walls with ladders or siege towers, or breaking down the gate with a battering ram. We've also been given some shiny new toys in the form of catapults and ballistae. While I have seen catapults smashing the battlements on top of walls, I've yet to find out whether or not this additional siege equipment can actually bring down the walls themselves. The combat AI of lords have also been improved. They will now seek out and hold high ground, and will in general be more strategic about how they choose to engage you. I personally find the Mount & Blade style of melee combat perfectly adequate for what it needs to accomplish, and I therefore am quite pleased with the devs don't fix what isn't broken attitude to this aspect of the game. This extra siege equipment, aside from being amazingly cool and helping to lend credibility to the setting, serves to liven up probably the most boring and monotonous type of battle Mount & Blade has to offer. Gone are the days, it seems, of standing on siege tower bridges being pelted by arrows, bolts and throwing weapons from all sides, waiting for your turn to join the meat grinder at the opening in the wall. Choices, they are so important to video games. They are what sets the medium apart from others by making it interactive, and it seems we're finally getting them in spades. I love the update to the AI, I've been wanting this for so long. I always put great care into positioning my units to maximize damage output while minimizing losses. The AI's stupidity and general tendency to just charge at you no holds barred kinda renders the whole exercise of tight unit control pointless. I'm gonna start this section off with a quick quote from the game's official Steam page. An all-new barter system gives the player flexibility in cementing deals, from marriage offers to treason pacts, offering all the options available to NPCs. Use a new influence system to direct your faction's energies or strangle the aspirations of a rival. I haven't been able to find anything on the barter system beside what's on the Steam page. The influence system, however, I do know some things about. Influence points are earned by helping out your faction, be it through completing quests or fighting in battles and campaigns. They are also given to you gradually over time, in amounts depending on your rank within the faction. This new currency can be spent on various actions, such as asking another lord from your faction to follow and aid you in combat. I quite like the updates on display here. The influence system especially is a much needed addition. I for one often feel quite powerless in where my faction is headed. I cannot count how many times my king has declared war, only to call for a feast immediately after, gathering all the lords and vassals in one place, leaving the realm vulnerable to attack. So getting tangible agency in the form of this currency really helps alleviate that problem. In general, it seems like Tale Worlds is all about giving the player more agency, a move I'm all for. The ability to use marriages as a bargaining chip is interesting and it fits the setting nicely. However, I am worried we might get another fit of outrage from the perpetually offended brigade. Yet again, I've got a quote for you from the Steam page. See the availability of goods ebb and flow in a simulated feudal economy, where the price of everything from incense to warhorses fluctuate with supply and demand. Invest in farms and workshops, or turn anarchy to your advantage by being the first to bring grain to a starving town after a siege, or reopen a bandit-plagued caravan route. Bannerlord will simulate a living economy, which means yours, and the actions of the AI, will affect it. For example, killing the farmers traveling with goods from a village to a city will rob the village of gold and the city of raw materials to produce goods with, which will have a knock-on effect on the economy of the entire area. Player can also do the opposite by patrolling his lands and killing bandits. Thereby keeping his trade routes safe, he can boost the economy of his cities and those of his allies. Not only that, but by crippling the production of a city that produces the same wares as an allied city, the profits of the allied city will rise, as the supply of the ware will drop while the demand will stay the same. Crime has also been added to Bannerlord, offering a less legitimate but faster way to get rich. This, however, does bring some consequences, as the lord of the town in which you conduct your illegal activities will take notice and it will in turn hurt your relationship. Weakening a city either through crime or economic starvation can be powerful tools for easing the siege of said city. Trading with NPCs has also been revamped, with a new trading screen resembling that of Civilization's diplomacy screen. Another completely new feature added in Bannerlord is the ability to construct weapons from scratch at the blacksmith. The crafting process itself consists of choosing parts from a myriad of options and via sliders increase or decrease their size. All of these choices not only affects the weapon's looks but also its stats. And with the absolutely ridiculous amount of options available, you would be hard pressed not to be able to make a weapon that fits your playstyle. I never really paid much attention to the economics of the previous titles in the Mount & Blade series, and can therefore not speak to whether or not this lifelike economy is a new feature. Regardless of if it's new or not, I like its implementation. I've always been interested in how supply and demand determines the prices on the free market, so seeing it implemented in a game on this scale gets me excited. When it comes to crafting, I'm a little bit iffy. I don't really feel like it was needed. It kinda feels like it was tacked on just because all the games nowadays have some sort of weapon customization element. I could personally have done fine without it, and instead have received the game a little earlier. Bannerlord is developed in a completely new engine different from the previous games. This new engine allows much higher graphics quality, as you may be able to see from the comparison on screen. Furthermore, HUD World has promised to make all the tools used in the creation of the game available to modders, so that they can continue their great work. If there's anything that has ever stood out to me as a sore thumb in the Mount & Blade series, it's the graphics. The in-game footage I've seen so far has all looked absolutely beautiful. The footage from inside cities especially got me, as they are now on a whole nother scale than we're used to from Mount & Blade warbands. I personally don't dabble much in mods or modding myself, but I'm happy to see that HUD World's continuing their support of the modding scene. As of the time of this recording, and it is currently the 24th of November 2016, we do not have an official release date yet. But since they now have an official Steam page, I'm hoping that the game will be coming out before too long. I am of course happy to wait. I'd rather have a finished game later than a broken game early. That was all from me today, folks. Thank you for watching. This has been Stax, signing out.